All right, here we go. Episode 5 of 84 Feet with Cady and Cap on the air. I'm Brian Cady. He's Albany Academy girls basketball head coach Brian Capitula. Don't forget you can check us out on Twitter. Well, X. I'm trying. I'm really trying. The artist formerly known as Twitter, at 84 Feet Podcast. Always email us, 84feetpodcast at gmail.com. And then, of course, you watch it on YouTube. Like, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell. And on Spotify, leave us a good review, subscribe to the channel, all that jazz. You just came back from Pennsylvania a few days ago, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. It was a good trip. It's a lot easier to drive to Spooky Nook now. They finally finished their 15-year construction. So it's a 2-lane road now. So it was a little bit less than it's ever been. It was usually it's 5 hours and something. It was 4.5. So. But it was a lot of good competition out there. A bunch of our local teams were there. We had I think 5 AAU programs there from our area. We got to see kind of a little bit of everybody, and everyone did really well. And it was good to see. It's good to travel 5 hours and then see the kids that are in your backyard that you watch and playing against not just the kids in the backyard. So,
you got yourself a slate of 4 games that you went through while down there over the weekend. All in all, your impressions of the squad coming out of that, as far as this being your second competition weekend of the AAU schedule so far.
Sure. Yeah. We try to tell everybody, and Coach B that is with me and Coach Ricky that's with me as well. But everyone, the majority of the kids that come to AAU, they're their alphas on their own team, right? That's what's going to happen in college too. So I think it's a big thing about finding where you fit in, what your role is on the team, whether it's be shooting, whether it's rebounding, whether it's you taking more shots than others. So it's still a feeler. It's the live period was really quick this year. It always is the early April, but they had been talked about before, having this April push back because of the way the transfer portal is and everything getting worked like that. But so really, we had really 2 full weeks of practice where everyone was there and 5 games before it. So we actually got an extra game on Sunday as well. We ended up playing a UAA Rise 17U from Colorado that had a big player. So each game you just take opportunity to get better, learn the team. And then obviously the coaches are watching you kind of perform. So that's why it's tough in early April to get put in front of coaches, because the team's still finding their identity out at that point. So, but overall, great. I think we ended up overall all 5 games. I think we ended up maybe a -13, meaning point differential. So every game, I think 2 games were 4 points, 1 game was 6 points, 1 game went to overtime. We ended up winning the Colorado game by 10. So just overall, when you go on the road like that, winning is great. We're not on any kind of circuit, so it doesn't really matter in terms of wins and losses. It's really about playing the best competition and the kids getting better. So that's at some point that was lost in translation, I think, a little bit in AAU side, but it's about just getting better and improving yourself every game you play.
And a cheap plug, if you want to check out the video from any of those games this past weekend, go to the Elevate NYBC YouTube page, because that's what I was doing before the show today to keep myself awake from 4 hours of sleep and, finding out what I missed out over the weekend, because, want to keep track of the squad there. But
yeah,
speaking of the live period, 2 young ladies were not spooky. They were down at in Hampton, Virginia. The Boo Williams complex down there for the Albany Capitals, and they just happen to be freshly minted New York State basketball champions. No big deal. Just a little bit of gold medal swag. No biggie. One is a sophomore, the other's a junior. So the live period is a little bit more of a heavy focus for one over the other, but still able to get your name out there, get that exposure is what it's all about. And joining us from Catholic Central High School, they're not there now, but that's where they're from. To Navi Turpin, Gabrielle DeBacco, Ella, Navi, what's going on? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. First things first, since we are mentioning this past weekend, you both went down to Virginia. Just your initial reaction to the competition you guys had down there, and how you feel coming out of that, as far as your your individual performances as well as how your teams did?
I thought the competition was good. We played a lot of good teams from all over. And my team, we have a few like new players, so we were all kind of getting used to playing together. But I think overall we did pretty good.
For me, I think the competition's way better than the competition we have up here. We played some tough teams, but I think my team did good overall. We had the same girls we had last year, so we played pretty good together.
I know Cap is going to want to ask a question, but I got to chime in real quick because I know y'all got like a guest nearby that we had discussed privately about. Is she the one making all the ruckus right now?
No, that's
No.
Coach Bacco.
Sorry.
Good job, Coach. Thanks a lot.
Become
Okay.
dinner.
Very important. Cap,
sure.
Go ahead.
So like we try to bring up some of the high school stuff, and we got to watch you guys a lot this year and compete. So you guys had a great year. Obviously, being state champions is amazing. So congratulations to all you guys. But in terms of like your high school season, what do you think? What do you think you took the most besides like being a state champion? Like what helped you kind of push into this AAU season? What from the high school season did you bring with you like to the AAU season?
Definitely the energy and like how like we play, because I know coming from high school, our team, we played together all season, and coming to a team that we just are getting together, we need the energy there. So I feel like I brought my same energy I had through high school to AAU.
Same, but I think I brought my defense. I love playing defense, so I think it's a big game and talking more.
Yeah.
I got a question specifically for Ella here. And now that I know who's around you, this might be a tricky question for you to answer, but you know, it is what it is. So you know, you got basketball in your blood. Basically, you got a mother who's a coach, a father who's a coach, an uncle too, I believe that's a coach.
Yeah.
Did you basically have no choice as a kid but to pick up a basketball, or you know, was it on your own accord to get things going with the basketball skills?
It was definitely a little bit of both. Like, I definitely started playing because I was always in a gym, because my mom and dad both coach high school, so I was always in a gym or somewhere. But then I started to fall in love with the game because of how my parents showed me the game, so I just continued to play because it's a sport I love to play.
That's cool. Yeah, so watching you guys play, so you guys played right around the same time we did. You guys actually played the day before. You played your regional final game, which we were watching. Like we were actually like had it on our computer and watching on our phones. You guys played in like a super hostile environment. It felt like maybe at least it sounded like it did. Like there was your fans and then there was everyone else. What was that like playing kind of in front of a crowd that, number one, they had no idea really who you guys were, but you're playing against like a crowd like that that's just is rooting against you. Do you take anything from that, like playing against a team that has like fans that are rooting against you?
Not, I mean, like, kind of, like, you're, like, a little, like, our fans aren't there, but just the energy of the gym really just brought the energy of the game more.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't, like, a quiet gym like some of our other games were, so there's, like, people, a crowd, and it was just good to have, like, a loud environment around us.
Sure.
All right. So I gave Ella a question for herself, and I'm going to give one to Navi. So the one thing I want to bring up is how, personally for me, I hadn't been exposed to your program until really last year. I think it was during sectionals, probably, just because I'm sheltered over here in Amsterdam. I'm surrounded by the Foothills Council and what the hell else is around here? I don't know. But anyways, but then I saw the squad last year, and people are like, "Oh, you gotta watch Navi. You gotta watch Navi." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." Then I see you play, and I'm like, "Oh, all right, I get it." But to me, it felt like there was a switch that flipped from sophomore year to junior year. Did you feel that at all? Did you feel like a change in your development at all, going from last year and the and going into this year, especially during the long playoff run you guys had?
Yeah, last year I used to play like super fast. I used to get in foul trouble almost like every game. But then this year, like my junior year, it's like the biggest year. So I just like slowed down more, and I got more confident with like shooting outside on the perimeter instead of just driving.
Yeah, and getting to the basket, like she's unstoppable. Brian, you watch it, but I was able to watch a lot of the scout games that they had too. Like, I'm not sure there's a player that goes harder to the hoop than you. So, like, and I watched you do it in an AAU tournament too 2 weeks ago. It was like, this kid's killing us, like and they keep yelling. Like, I'm like, well, she's gonna keep killing you. So there's nothing you can do. You just have to hope to contain it because there's no stopping it. So, but in terms of like, so both you guys, but I'll go Navi first. Like, who do you model your game after? Is there anybody that you watch, either like men's basketball, women's basketball, high school basketball, anyone you take from and try to like model your game after?
I'd probably say Angel Reese because the double machine. I compare my game to her,
Okay,
just
good.
like the toughness and the heart she has.
What do you say, Ella? Anybody that you sticks out for you?
I'd say maybe Sue Bird. I like to watch her, and I like how she can do everything, like find the open player, get to the hoop, and just kind of be all over on the court.
I'm gonna provide an NBA example for Navi because aside from all the technical fouls, I feel like it's almost a direct mirror image of your game. Draymond Green,
Oh yeah.
like again, like I said, minus the technical fouls. Let's avoid that. Because I'm sure coaches hearing that comparison is like, I don't know. Now the one thing I do want to bring up specifically is that title game. Um, Obviously it's been a little over a month now, so I think the restriction on the amount of time of not criticizing the way things were going in a certain way is over. So I'm gonna just put this out there, and I'm sure Coach would love to yell her opinion from the background. Was that or was that not one of the worst officiated games y'all were both part of?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was bad.
We don't talk bad about officials.
I mean, it was all right. So let me put it this way: when Navi specifically, you were the one that was getting into foul trouble early. Um, so this question actually goes for both of you. In the moment when you have to sit out as much time as you had to, what are you thinking? And then Ella, with Navi on the bench, obviously you're out there, you're trying to keep pushing the team with Fogs and Akari. You know, how are you dealing with it and at least trying to maintain the game being at a margin that's manageable so that when the fourth quarter does come, Navi can come in and just go guns blazing and, to a worst case scenario, maybe she gets the fifth. How are you guys able to manage that in the moment?
We just come together and just tell each other like, don't give up, keep your heads up, and we all just lift each other up and talk positive to each other.
Yeah, it definitely, like, Navi's a great defender and obviously can score the ball on offense. So with her out the game, we just had to keep our composure and not, like, get crazy, and we had to play our game minus one of our key players. So we just had to keep it good, like, steady and fine until she could come back in, and we could keep the energy, honestly, without her on the court.
Right. What was it like? Like, so you guys, the game ends and like the buzzer goes off and you guys are win. Like, what's the first thing that goes through either one of your heads? Is it gratification? Is it like, oh, finally this is over? Like, finally take a deep breath from the season. Like, what's going through your head?
Honestly, just like that, our hard work paid off. We've said from day one that we wanted to win, and when they went off, we all were like, so it was just not real. We were all so excited to have finally done it and won it all.
Before the season, so and Ella, you might have a unique perspective on this because your father coached the team. The year before, the boys went all the way to the state finals themselves, and wound up coming up just a little short against West Hill. And I'm assuming, you guys are probably pretty close with all the boys that were on that team. All things considered, was there anything from the experiences you saw um, that team go through last year that helped you at any moment during your run to the state title this year? Whether it be something you just learned for postseason, how to handle the postseason, or maybe something that you took with you in through the whole entire season, starting back in October with, with practices and stuff.
Oh, from the boys, I noticed last year that they played some good competition before West Hill, obviously, and they just kept playing as a team and continued to keep each other, bring each other up and not put anybody down. And I definitely feel like I took that into consideration for our year. It was going to be a long season. Basketball's a long season with or without the state's run. And I felt that we just have to be a close-knit group of kids. And I feel like at the end of the season, we were just a family and we were really good and close with each other.
At what point, this is for Navi, at what point do you feel like in the season where you guys were playing, you're like, all right, we're good. We have a chance to really do this and really have a really good season. At any point, was that in preseason? Did it happen halfway through the year? Did it happen when the year ended? When did you guys really think all right, we can do this?
We have a pretty young team, and we made it to the finals last year and came short. So I feel like we had the same players back, and I just looked at us yeah, we definitely got this. Probably postseason, I would say,
Okay.
Open gyms and stuff. Just we always push each other to be better.
Awesome.
Now, looking back at that run, I specifically think about from probably the sectional title game all the way through, and most notably in the state title game. I mean, Akari Gaddy just went through leaps and bounds of growth during that 3-week period, it felt like. And particularly in that state title game, like I mentioned, because of your foul trouble, she was a huge factor in helping keep that game where it was before you guys wound up taking over in the fourth quarter and walking away with the title. Just talk a little bit about her contributions, because her growth has been remarkable to witness. Not just in the last 12 months, but like I mentioned, from that 3-week span of sectionals, regionals, and then the state title game as well.
She's a really good player, and she knew we needed her in those games, and she showed us the Corey she is and how she plays.
I think she realized that she had to step up a lot more than not than she's been doing before, but way more than she's been doing that before, if that makes sense. And just her confidence it's been better, way better. That game, her confidence was through the roof.
So you guys have, I would say, I'll be biased. I think you guys probably have the top 2 point guard in the entire, I would say in the entire area. She happens to still be very, very young, and she's still just realizing her potential. But what is it like playing with her, with being so young, but being so under control and being able to handle the pressure it's nothing? Where do you think she gets that? Where does she get that poise from?
I'd probably say her brothers and her dad and her uncle. I think she looks up to them a lot, and they push her a lot. I've been playing with her since I was in 4th grade, and I watched her grow a lot. She matured a lot. She keeps her head. She doesn't, just because she's so young, she doesn't lose control. She just stays focused. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, El Dior's okay. She's all right. She's fine. I'm just kidding. She's wonderful. She does an amazing job. I want to take that a step further, though, Ella. Because obviously there's a chemistry there. I've seen grow between the two of you, and obviously, at least from what I saw, if one of you is maybe not starting out so hot, the other's right there to be like, hey, keep your chin up, next play, next play, next play. Talk a little bit about that relationship because, that's like the most direct comparison for each of you, because you're both back there, you're both handling the ball, you're both trying to set up your teammates, and when needed, you're creating shots for yourself. Just talk a little bit about that relationship you personally have with Dior.
Well, we've been playing together for 3 years, so we kind of like grown on each other, and our games kind of like go off each other. Like if she is having a good shooting day, I know I could look at the floor and she'll be there, and we just like feed off each other because we like I don't but like playing with her I like playing with her a lot, and I feel like our game it's better when we're both on the court together. Because if we're going on a 2v1, we both know like, oh, she's trailing behind. If she comes to stop, she's there, and it's just great having another point guard who like we like see the floor the same and know like the opportunities who we could get the ball to and everything.
So in terms of you guys, like after, so obviously, coach has she gives the energy, right? So if you guys aren't having energy, she'll let you know that you're not having it and then help you guys provide it. What was your locker room like after you guys win the game? Like I think I might have seen like did you guys like how long did it actually take to like stop smiling after the game was over?
I don't think we ever
stopped smiling.
We know, like, when she came into the locker room, it was everything. We were all so excited. She was excited. It was just a great environment to be in.
Speaking of coach, speaking of your mother, there is one specific thing I want to ask about. And I you can laugh about it now because the season's over. The pregame ritual after the starting lineups, was that initiated by you, Ella? Was that an idea from Coach? Like, who initiated the idea of Coach making a 20-foot leap into the huddle before the start of the game?
Ever since I can remember going to her games, she's always done it. So as I got to play for her, I thought it would be good to keep the tradition going. She's done it forever, and it's just a superstition now. We do it before every game. After big wins, it's just something that is like a part of the team. It has to happen.
Whose cat is that? It's got to be Brian's cat.
No, it was me. It was actually just myself.
Oh, sorry. So like looking past like the season, now you guys are in the AAU season and everything. You had your first like big event. Navi, you can go first, and then like, what are your goals for like the college level? Do you guys plan on playing in college? And if so, like, where do you think that you want to try to get to in college? Are you looking to play just Division III basketball? Do you want to try to play at the highest level? Like, what is your ultimate goal? Like in the next few years at that level?
My ultimate goal is to play at the highest level. I think I can play at the highest level.
My goal is to play any type of college basketball. I would love to play Division I, but all 3 divisions are competitive, and I just want to continue playing basketball in college.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean the number that it is, and I try to tell my kids, like, if you're playing college basketball, like it's less than it's like 6% of high school players actually play in college at any level. So no matter where you play, like if you continue to play college basketball, like you've succeeded with your high school career. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's tough. Like Division I teams, it becomes like that's your life. So some kids don't want that, but some kids really want like the academic stuff first. But yeah, so we kind of speak the same things to our kids. Like we try to push them as hard as we can and try to get them to their goals. If they don't hit them, like just know there's always more opportunity. So.
Yeah.
Uh, before I get into you know, the pictures that I have assembled here, for you guys to reflect on, um, is our guest nearby anywhere?
Yeah.
All right, slide her on in for a quick second.
Wait, I'm the guest.
Yes, you're
Yes.
the guest.
A guest of a guest.
Yeah, guest a guest. Dior Dobere, freshman point guard. Um, First of all, hello, welcome to the show. Second of all, you've been listening the whole time. Um, what do you make of these two? You know, they're okay, right? They're fine. It's all good.
Um, they're alright, I guess. I have fun playing with them. They make me laugh on and off the court, so and it's a good bond on and off the court. So playing basketball with them is easy.
All right. Well, I got some photos I got to run through real quick. Just this is kind of became like a weird end of interview. Not weird, but an interview ritual that's kind of happened. Um, First thing I want to show. I couldn't find any action shots of Ella, but I did find a couple action shots of Navi real quick. So two different scenarios. When you're in the midst of the set and you're looking to drive to the hoop like this, or oh, I don't know, when you scored your 1,000th point during the postseason, what's what's the mentality of the moment of, you know, like is there a certain thing that's going through your mind when you're trying to set yourself up for the bucket, or is it just blackout, like it's you and the hoop, that's it?
Yeah, I think it's just me and the hoop. Like I don't know.
And then here, do you have a ritual at all? I know that's something that Cap usually asks about. Is there a ritual you got for yourself when you're at the free throw line? Something you say to yourself? I think somebody recently said they sing a song to themselves. I can't remember what that was.
Nah, I don't have a ritual.
Does anybody on the team sing to themselves?
I do. When I was little, my dad taught me this thing his dad taught him. So it's once I catch it and I like time it, so it's Hail Mary, full of grace, put this ball in its place. And as I say place, I shoot it. And my dad taught me that growing up. So now when I shoot a foul shot, I say that.
That's a new one. I haven't heard that before. Dior, do you say a prayer as well, or?
Oh no, I just do my free throw routine.
A couple of personal ones for Ella here. There's that. That's obviously your father, and then Mama Bear got one too. This one I remember specifically because it was during the medal ceremony. When the way things work at state championships, for those of you who don't know, we have the head coach come out at the end of the championship game and give the medals to each player. Specifically this moment I want to ask about, though. Was it like a huge sigh of relief for the both of you? Because, it's one thing to be, player and coach, but when your mother and daughter going through the same journey the whole way, step by step, I mean, gotta be a lot of talk in the household about it, right?
Yes. It was definitely us, like, just like had to take a deep breath. I was like, we did it. I couldn't have been more excited to do it with my mom. I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. And just being, like, her being on the sideline with me through everything it's just amazing. As a coach and as a mom, it's a great person to have on your side.
And then I'll let Navi chime in on this one. That's that the emotion and energy you guys were talking about earlier?
Oh yeah. That's it.
And then obviously the last one I got here. I mean that sums up everything right there. And I just noticed the three of you are all right there in the front.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh, that's the other thing I want to ask about. The assistant coaches. They and forgive me for not remembering their names off the top of my head, but they they bring swag too. Like
Oh yeah.
it's not just Coach D. The whole coaching staff. They bring a swag and a confidence and an energy, and they all wear their matching sport coats, which is cute and everything. And like that whole staff got swag. Talk about the assistant coaches real quick and what they bring to the table for the team.
They bring a lot of energy too, and they're so supportive through everything. They just want the best for us, and them coming in their first year, they just came in and were ready to get to it. Like they were just so excited to be there, and we were so excited to have them on our staff.
I'm guessing it was probably your mother's idea for the matching sport coats, by the way. Just throwing it out there. Coach Riddick and Coach Harris. That's okay. I want to make sure they got proper respect. I didn't want to leave them hanging without any names attached to them. Cap, you got anything else?
Yeah, just one more. I guess I'll ask all three quick. What are you looking forward to the most, like going into next season? Obviously, like there's no more. Not that you guys ever were, but like there's no more. Like who are we playing or who is this team anymore? Now that you've won a state championship, now you guys got to slide up a level as well. So that's a whole nother animal itself. But you guys, I fully feel you guys can compete because I feel like the Colonial Council, for the most part, like is one of the better leagues in the area that you guys compete against teams. But going into next year, what do you guys like? What are you guys looking forward to the most going into next season of your high school season? Anything? You can start first.
Just competing. Like we didn't lose anyone this year, so we have the same team. So us just going out and competing against anyone.
I just want to have fun again. Like this year was so much fun, and we're having the same group back. I feel like it's going to be great, and playing against new teams and sectionals that we don't get to play against during the season will be good competition and everything.
Setting higher standards for ourselves. Our standards weren't as high as they could have been, but now that we know we can win, I think we can set higher goals and meet them by the end of the season.
All right. Well, that's all we got for you. Y'all did great. I know it's been pretty busy because all three of you just jumped right out of school season. Like, oh yeah, that's right. We got AAU to do. So I know you're all competing and going to continue to compete for a couple more months, and then maybe you can take a little time off in July and August. Maybe, no big deal. Ella de Bacco, Navi Turpin, and El Dior Dobere sliding on in at the end. Thank you all for coming on the show. Definitely appreciate it. Best of luck with the rest of your AAU season, and keep that state title plaque nice and shiny.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All
girls.
right, that was the big trio out of Catholic Central. Navi Turpin, Ella de Bacco, El Dior Dobere. Yeah. It was funny because I found out last minute that Dior was going to be in the vicinity. I was like, oh, all right. You shouldn't give me that ammunition, but okay, all right, good to know. Yeah. Girls seem happy, healthy, and I know that talking off air quick before the show, I asked Navi because she's been wearing a lot of tape lately on that knee, but apparently got enough decent rehab. She was good to get through Boo, and she's looking like she's ready to go for the rest of AAU season. So that's good for her because obviously junior year, it's a big time to get those recruiters to think about sending you offers come the end of summer and into the fall.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this weekend, like I think it's just again, it's a weird landscape these kids got to navigate, especially for the juniors that are here. There's so many coaches that are like, hey, we have two, like they're there to watch the games, but are they really there to recruit the kids? So it's the transfer portal. We keep bringing it up, and we'll have to have like I said, we'll have someone on to discuss it at some point, but it's just changed the landscape of what high school basketball is and what AAU basketball or grassroots basketball is now with that, because they can go either get a kid that's a junior and coming as a senior in high school and come into their program, which like Juju Watkins and those guys did this year, and you saw how good they did? Or do you take like a junior who's been through 2 seasons at like a Big Ten school or a Big East school and now coming into a league like the MAC or somewhere like that where they hadn't seen success at the high level? Do they now take a chance on them at the low level? So it's a weird climate right now for like the juniors, and they just need to stick out. Like we keep telling our kids too, like you got to do something that sets you apart at this point, because now they're just not recruiting high school kids. They're recruiting kids that are already been through it in college that have college film. So you have to do something beyond like just being average. There's no more being average anymore if you want to play at the highest level. So, but those are 3 kids that I know that we just had on that have the opportunity to play college basketball. I would take them on my team if I was a college basketball coach, and especially like Navi, the way she plays as an undersized 4'5", like I'm not sure there's anyone with that size that does more with it than she can. So
Now, just kind of follow up on what you were saying. Your situation specifically with your team with Elevate is quite unique because you have like a almost like a 50-50 mix of underclassmen, of sophomores with the juniors.
yep.
Do you give the same message across the board, regardless of if they're sophomores and juniors, or are you kind of like, not that you're telling the sophomores to like
Sure.
step on the brakes and let the juniors shine, but like,
Right.
is there a different message you're giving the sophomores? Because this might be, I'm not sure if it is, but for a few of them it might be their first time under brighter lights, bigger exposure. Is there something a little different you're saying to them in the moment?
Not too much. I mean, again, like the more you can get on someone's radar early, the better. Like obviously they can start getting contacted June 1st because there's a rule for when you can contact sophomores and everything. So it's June 1st coming up. But I think there's no different message to those guys than the juniors. The juniors, obviously, they only have so many opportunities left. Like they only have, if they're looking to play at the Division I level, they only have so many more opportunities to get put in front of the coaches in person. Obviously, there's tons of film they can watch and everything, but I mean, they have 4 more opportunities for it to happen. Like whether like they have a combined, like it's crazy that your whole career of basketball and some of the kids that want to play at the highest level, like there's 3 days in May, you have 5 days or 4 days in early July, you have 4 days in late July, and then you're done. Like that's really what it boils down to. So we don't really tell kids differently. We try to get all the kids to play as hard as they can. Obviously, when there's times where there's juniors and a coach is there to see them, we want to try to like showcase them a little bit. Like they're there to watch them. So whether the lineup turns to more juniors for whatever reason, but we don't really like it. The kids play, the best players play, and we try to put them all in the situation where at all times they're in the right spots. We don't ever want anyone to fail or not succeed. So there's some games where kids just don't do very well against the team they're playing for whatever reason, and we try not to expose them because that's the goal. Is it's exposure, but you'll also get exposed if you're not to that level. So
Now, so we got a little extra time, so we can just kind of, talk about AAU in a little broader spectrum for a little bit here.
Yeah.
First off, you have the unique perspective in that you're not just a coach of a team, but you're also, for lack of a better phrase, an administrator for Elevate. When are you starting to, put the wheels in motion with prepping for AAU season? What does that process look like for you on both sides, both as an administrator who's helping run the program as well as somebody who's a coach for a 17U squad yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So usually August will take off. Like that's kind of the month that everything kind of slows down a little bit and then rails back up. So I would say September, like we have a fall program, just like a lot of the other programs do around here. They have some kind of fall skill things or anything like that. Obviously there's kids with volleyball, soccer, so it bumps into some of the stuff and obviously high school open gyms, which we're not stepping on those toes of high school coaches at that point, being a high school coach too. I know how that goes. So we're trying to like balance everything out. We try to get the kids in the gym maybe on a weekend or something like that if they're available. But I would say September, it all kind of starts with our younger kids. And then October, you're trying to like round out rosters and things. Like the unique thing with some of the programs we have around our area and other places, like as you get older, like the 15, 16, 17 U groups, a lot of those teams don't have as many tryouts. It's more of like someone is recruiting you. So it becomes a little bit more like a college feeling where you're recruiting players that you know that fit your system or fit your team really well. They have really good parents and they're really good players. It's all stuff that we take into account, just kind of like how the college coaches do. You want really good parents and really good players because that's someone that you're going to be with for the next 5 months once the month of March hits. So that starts in October, and then it's kind of goes away a little bit. You follow all the players all the way through their high school years. You reach out to them like anything needed or how are things going. And then the kids that were going on recruiting that are the class of like 24 kids, you're getting their recruiting stuff done in that time frame, like in the September, Octobers, they're making their decision on where to go. So I guess it never really ends. Like everyone always says like basketball, like they have the Nike shirts that it never ends. Basketball never ends, but it truly doesn't. Like if you are invested in this, there's no point where you really have complete downtime. It's more of just maybe you manage it different and it doesn't become like your 3-4 days a week thing. It kind of like, because right now, like it takes over 6-7 days. You have some kind of contact about it. So, but it's fun. Like it's a lot of work. Like anyone ever wants to try to run an AAU program, and there's a ton of people that do it great, but it's not easy. Like it seems like it'd be simple, but just the logistic stuff is the hardest part of some of that stuff. Once you get to the tournaments, that's the easy part. It's everything that happens in December, January, February, working up to the season that usually gives you the most problems. And then the game starts and there's more problems about something else that has nothing to do with logistic stuff. So as a whole, everyone has to deal with certain things, but I feel like we're in a good position with our program right now. And there's some really great programs locally. So there's been great options for kids in our area, and there will continue to be really good options for all the kids that no matter what level they are. So,
and the unique point for you, for those of you who are maybe not completely aware of the inner workings behind the Albany academies, with a good chunk of your kids, at least in the upper levels of your program, you're dealing with kids from your school, which, they have a 2-sport rule in place. So, it makes a little more sense when you're talking about the numbers impacting you, because you might, like, for example, Liana Williams, she's a soccer player as well as a basketball player. So she has to balance soccer practices and games and all that jazz as well. So you have a little bit more of a particular unique situation that you're trying to, balance that out along
right.
with whatever other girls might be doing track or whatever it may be.
Right. Yeah. And the nice part about some of them, like obviously we want everyone to participate in high school sports. That's like bottom line. It just, everyone has at some point, I think we all at some point were played multi-sport athletes, played baseball, basketball, football, baseball, basketball, soccer, whatever it might've been. I think the toughest part to tell like somebody is, it's just tough. Like if you're a softball player and you're really committed to softball, or you're a lacrosse player and you're really committed to lacrosse, it's really tough to also play like a high level AAU team. It just is like, there's only so much time in a day. And these kids sometimes get like I don't know how Gianna Winters, she does it better than anyone, I think, because her energy never drops. But I mean, she goes from lacrosse game to practice at 8 o'clock last night, has another lacrosse game. We'll be back at practice tomorrow. So the balance of things, it's structured pretty well. Like for her, she structures her day really well. But that's how it is in college. Like you have practices, you have morning workouts. But like in terms of the academy kids, they have to do two sport. They can get away with their AAU practices and things like that. They can get away with that being their spring sport. But but they have to be committed to it. Like there's something that has to get signed and says that they're here multiple days. And so it's not just an easy out, just say, hey, I'm playing AAU. I'm just going to sign this form and then have practice once every 2 or 3 weeks. So they're required to, like, that's their spring sport if they're going to go. But public schools, like, it's tough because there's only so many kids that be able to play. So like you need to participate in your spring sport.
So obviously AAU basketball has evolved a lot over, say, last 20 years from a broad point of view.
Oh yeah, huge. There wasn't, when I was a senior in high school and junior in high school, it was like you played with your own local team and you knew who the City Rocks were, but there wasn't a ton of other teams that you really like, I'm going to go play here.
Now, when you take a look at AAU in general, do you feel like there's any differences between reputation that AAU carries and the expectations, whether it be from parents, the players themselves, even the school coaches that you're using players from? Because you're not just using all the academy girls. You got girls from Saranac, you got a girl from Red Hook, you got a couple of girls from Bethlehem. So it's a little partnership of sorts you got going on here. Do you find there to be a difference sometimes for certain people as far as reputation versus that is with those players or parents or coaches versus the expectations that you and other coaches bring to the table?
Right. Yeah. So they have such different roles, I think, too. Like they have to get used to not being like some players, everything runs through them at their school or everything runs through them in offense. And they have to get comfortable with positions. We're trying to put them in positions that we feel like they'll naturally play in the college, where they have to play the position that they're told to because they had a necessity in high school. So, but we try to keep open communication. Like, I know I talked to Coach Murphy at Shen a few times, see him at practice and let him know, like, hey, G does this and she's doing well. And his younger kids that are in the program are doing really well. So I think it's important to have good communication with high school coaches, just from the fact of, like, I know if I had something, I'd want like them to at least reach out to me. It just is like, it's just it's a good thing to have, like, is open communication with those coaches and say, hey, we have something this weekend. If you're not going to ever ask them to skip something for high school, if they're that committed to their high school team, then I'll back them up. And that's what they want to do the most. But it's always good to have good communication with the high school coaches of the kids. It means a lot to them, I think, because some of their high school coaches are their favorite coaches. Where they're AAU coaches, they kind of choose the team. Sometimes they don't always get to choose the coach of the team. But I feel like the big stigma difference, like you see all these posts that are everywhere, is like there's all these different brackets and there's different levels of brackets and there's 10 different brackets that you can go 4-0 in, or you go 0-4, depending on what it is. It just really comes down to like what you're in it for. Like if you really think that you're playing AAU because it's going to get you a basketball scholarship, it's probably the wrong reason. If you're doing it as a player or a parent to, like, potentially down the line, maybe if I do really well and I play well for my high school season and the AAU season, maybe I get some looks from a college somewhere. Maybe it's Division III, maybe it's a junior college. And then I think the biggest thing, how hard it really is to play at the Division I level, how good you really have to be. And it has to turn into your life. Like, you have to work out constantly. And it just doesn't come that easy. I think some people think, like, I can just play on this team and this is just going to come. I think that may be a misconception. And it's weird because it's really everything's high level and I'm going to get a scholarship, and then everyone's against, like, the low level kids, calling it like recreational basketball. And it's tough because if parents are okay with spending the money to do it for like 6th and 7th graders to go to somewhere and they think that's a great experience for their kids, then it's a great experience. Like, who am I to tell them that they shouldn't be there? So, but it's life lesson stuff too. Like, you're creating teams, you're learning things. So there's more than just the basketball aspect of the AAU side of things when you're young. It's creating you, like, it's making you grow up a little bit. You're playing with a bunch of strangers. You have to communicate, because the way we are now, like, no one communicates in person anymore. So
now, I feel like maybe the margin has shrunk a bit just because of the wide popularity of AAU and the just the general development of kids different now than say 10, 20 years ago. But to me, there's a clear line of demarcation that separates the average and the below average programs, not just teams, like actual whole programs,
Sure.
from the good, very good, and great programs. What characteristics do you think set that line of demarcation between the ones that are like not quite there with it to the
Yep.
ones that are clearly, ready to roll once they hit the ground day one?
Right. I think it's the investment in the kids, like how much the coaches are, how much of the director of the program is invested in the kids. Is he sending them workouts? Are they doing the workouts? Are these checking in on them? Like that plays a big part of it. Some programs just start up in like their AAU season starts in March. They have tryouts in February and then they go. So I think the programs that are of the higher level, at least in our area, they stick with the kids all year long. They're either with them in the gym or they're doing some kind of separate workout, because now at this point, a lot of the kids have individual people they work out with, or if they go shoot somewhere. So I think it really what sets them apart. And then obviously track record. Like if you have a really good track record, that goes a long way. Like Havoc has a great track record of getting kids to college. Like they just do. It's been great for them, and they've had a great success for the last 4 or 5 years of just getting kids at that level. And they're on Under Armour circuit, and we were able to watch some of their games, and the competition that they play is unbelievable. So, and then we play kind of on we play like the next group over. So we played a bunch of kids. We're not on any kind of circuit. So we played really good teams with really good players, but not to that level. So they're playing kind of at the highest level that there is in terms of competing against the best in the country. And then we're playing against kids that maybe are best in their state. So if that makes sense, like those are the different levels. And then there's teams that are maybe playing the best kids in their region. And then there's kids that are playing the best kids in their city. Like that's kind of how the AAU works. Like it trickles down that way. And then all the kids get plucked. Like if there's a really good kid that's sticking up, there was a kid we played 2 years ago that was on just like a Brian Cady elite team in the back gyms. And now she's on the EYBL team and like a top 20 kid in the country, and got invited to USA basketball. So those kids are usually found by the directors of those programs that are in those states, and they try to get them to play with the top team. That's the one thing that has happened is there's not a lot of kids that people don't know anymore. So if you are that level, most of the time you're playing on a higher level team. You're not playing on just your local kind of team, which that's changed a little. Like Joe Girard, I remember watching him. He was playing with his Glen Falls team in a tournament I think we were up towards exit like 27 Warrensburg, and he's playing with his like Glen Falls kids. Meanwhile, he had committed to Syracuse. Like this is crazy. He's playing against these kids. So that's changed a little bit where you're never really playing. You're playing with players that are your level. You're never really playing with you being the best player like high school is. And then everyone else around you is kind of like your high school team.
Last thing I want to wrap up with is I know we had discussed briefly at one point, the transition you were seeing with the team from your opening event back at the beginning of the month to this past weekend, and that you're able to get more practice time in, actually have all your players together for those practices, being able to spend more time and, figuring out how to play together as a team since they just came together from their school teams a month ago. What's the next step? Is there a next step as far as what you'd like to see over the course of the spring AAU season? Because obviously, you have another live event coming up in a few weeks with Gym Rat, and then you have another live event. I believe it's in June, end of June, roughly. What's that next logical step for you? Because now the players are really coming together and being around each other more often now.
Sure. Yeah. So we're Gym Rat Live is so that's first week of May, and then the actual live, like the meeting Division I live period, is the middle of May, which is like usually a prom time. So that's always a weird thing too. But I think the progress too is just all the kids learning how to play harder, and just knowing everyone that's there is just playing harder. Like you think that you play hard, and then you go see that stuff, and you're like, I play really hard for where I play. and then you go and you're like, wait a minute, that girl played way harder than I did. So I think the progress is just like learning to play harder, because sometimes you can get by with your effort around here at that level. And you just have to realize, like, if I want to really push myself, I have to play harder. I can't just kind of be, I can't go through the motions, and I can't be who I am when I am able to play with my high school groups. I need to play harder. I need to play smarter, and then embrace your role. Like, embrace the role on the team that you're on and do really good things at it. So whether you're a rebounder and you are a passer, like, don't all of a sudden become a scorer in the AAU level. Like, do things that you know you're really good at, and the rest of the stuff usually just comes naturally. Like, so that's what I keep telling our girls too. Like, don't do stuff that you're not really familiar. We can, as the season progresses, you can pick up new things. Like, you play kids at positions that maybe they haven't played before, and they kind of get exposed to that stuff that coaches are now like, oh man, she can play that position. So I think it's learning to play hard all the time, learning that how hard you need to play is a really good thing. And then learning how to play with new teammates that you don't know, and learning how to play together, because playing together just looks so much better at no matter where you play. Just individually, it never really looks great when you're just playing by yourself.
Yeah, and you mentioned the schedule. So Gym Rat Live Mother's Day weekend,
Yep.
and then you mentioned mid-May. That following weekend after Gym Rat, you have a showcase down in Atlantic City. That's a live event.
Correct.
And then the Gym Rat Challenge, which is different from Gym Rat Live.
Yep.
That's the first weekend of June, and then the network coming together for another event at the end of June at Impact before a crazy July, which we'll tackle another day. But yeah, so you got yourself set up for, it's interesting because you got like that back-to-back weekends in May, and then you have a little bit of time to kind of breathe, practice, scale up a little bit before you get right back into it and start of June. So
yep, yeah, you start because a lot of the kids will go on visits and stuff. That middle of June, there's elite camps that kids sometimes get invited to, which elite camps are good and bad. That's a whole nother discussion too, of whether they're a real elite camp or whether they're just trying to raise money on you. But like, that's when kids usually can get on campus. There's no real dead periods, and all the different periods at some point we can go over too, where no contact periods, dead periods, quiet periods, what the live periods, what the different things are. It's just, it's a crazy process that once you get through this, and this is being my like 12th year of doing this, and I started with Twigs, who runs Lady Stars and is the assistant coach at Albany High, like taking his knowledge that he had, like being with him and learning things like that, I've been able to kind of figure out how things worked being with him for 10 years, and then kind of doing my own thing with me, Tom, and Dags for the last few years. So, but we still talk every day. Like, we still are conversations every day about players, and we try to help each other and communicate if they have a player, or I have a player, and hey, what's the coach's number? Do you have a coach's name? Just like how it should be. We keep saying the same thing. Like, there's no reason. That's what the network group is trying to do. Like, everyone's just trying to help each other. So
something new every day, I suppose. No comment on that one. I'll leave that alone, and we're going to just end the show right there. Yeah. So thanks again to the power lawyer trio of Bacco, Turpin, and Dobere for coming on the show. Ella, Navi, and Dior for coming on, representing the 2024 Class A New York State girls basketball champion Catholic Central Crusaders. I forgot to ask about the nuns sitting on the baseline during the title game. I'll get an opinion somehow about that. I'll figure that out. That all being said, like I mentioned during the beginning of the show, once again, you can follow us on X at 84 Feet Podcast. Also, send emails if you want, comments, questions, concerns, guest suggestions, 84feetpodcast@gmail.com. If you check us out on YouTube, like the channel. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment, and hit the notification bell so you know when next shows come up. Spotify, subscribe to the channel, leave a review, all that nice jazz. Any parting thoughts of wisdom from Coach Cap?
Nope, no parting thoughts. Catholic High was a great team this year, and unfortunately for everyone that's in Section 2 and beyond, they're they didn't lose any money for next year, so they're going to be a force to reckon with for the next few years. And I don't know. We got to probably play them twice next year, so that'll be a fun, entertaining game for us twice when we play, and it's always a fun game to compete against them. So
To quote one of my favorite movies, "Trouble, trouble, trouble." That's all they're going to be for Section 2 next year, and really 2 years, honestly. That all being said, thanks for watching episode 5. That's Cap. I'm Cady. He's Brian. I'm Brian. And yeah, we'll catch you next time with, by the way, I can officially reveal our guest for next show from Bethlehem, Paige Davenport and Ellie Surf. How's that for future scheduling, Cap?
I
How's
love
that
it.
for future scheduling? So yeah, make sure you check that out. In the meantime, enjoy your week, and we'll catch you for episode 6. Goodbye.
See you guys.